Hey, what's up everyone out there? My name is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this brand new JJ's One Man Podcast. I know I've been slacking a little bit with these podcast episodes, but your man's been busy out here doing things, putting out content for you guys to enjoy. There's a lot of stuff I've been involved with, including a new announcement that I gave at least a couple days ago for a new outlet I've been writing for, .esports, which is pretty nice. But honestly, if you know that I'm not out here doing these podcast episodes, you know I'm out there doing content. I mean, there's so much now for you guys to enjoy that's been coming from me as of the last couple weeks, including new videos here on the channel, including new shorts as well that I've been putting up even just before this podcast. I've been writing a lot of reviews and a lot of other articles, including my review of Baldur's Gate 3. I almost said it wrong. Baldur's Gate 3 that just came out not too long ago. I have a whole review over on Clownfish TV. Again, it's like nearly almost 2,000 words because there's so much to say about that game. That game is huge. It's got a wide scope overall. But on top of that, I also put out my review of Gran Turismo. I went to a screening with Flynn's Arcade not too long ago to actually go see that movie, and I had a good time. I had a lot of great stuff to say about that film, which the review is up now, and I even talked about it even on TikTok, which on top of that too, there's a lot of videos on TikTok for you guys to check out. A whole bunch of gaming stuff, movie stuff, Star Wars stuff, a lot of different things. And on top of that, related to my announcement, I put out a guide that I wrote not too long ago for .esports, which is pretty cool. Again, there's so much right now. So that's why you haven't been getting as many podcast episodes lately. But now that I'm back, now that I'm here, okay, there's a lot to talk about, okay? Because there's been things going on that have been crazy, have been goofy, have been weird, and there's just a lot of discussion to be had about them, specifically with movies. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about this DC stuff because this DC stuff with James Gunn, with Wonder Woman 3, Gal Gadot, it's been ridiculous. I was talking about this on Twitter not too long ago and mentioning that all of this stuff, this back and forth, this he said, she said stuff is really silly. It's just goofy. It's gotten to the point that you got places like Variety or the Hollywood Reporter reporting on different sides of this stuff going on, where one person is saying one thing, confirming it, going out of their way to confirm it in interviews, and then you have the studio going and sending their representatives to talk to these outlets with their sources, which I'm pretty sure was James Gunn, coming out and saying, yo, that's not true. This is insane. Anybody who's a DC fan right now is sitting over here with their popcorn looking at this what the hell are we going to do? Because there is nothing really going on that's all that great with DC movies right now. The DC Universe, the DC Extended Universe, whatever you want to call it. DCU. Bottom line, things are not good. Really not good. Now, in the midst of all that stuff, I will say the one shining beacon here is My Adventures with Superman over on Max or HBO Max, whatever you want to call it. That show is actually kind of cute. It's fun. It's an anime take on the Superman mythology, which they're kind of doing their own little thing, but they're giving a lot of nods and fan service to older Superman animated iterations, including the Flesher Superman the animated series, some of the 80s stuff that I saw or the 70s stuff, because that Superman is very similar between the 70s and 80s show that they had from the Super Friends. That was actually pretty cool. So that show, a lot of people seem to be liking. They've been talking about it a lot in much more positive light than anything else. But the movie side of DC, man, James Gunn needs to get his house in order, straight up. Seriously needs to get his house in order because it is so confusing for fans of DC Comics or DC heroes when it comes to their films. Because let's be real, The Flash did not do good. The Flash, again, I've reviewed it. There's a whole review that I have over on Clownfish TV. I've talked about it in various places. That movie should have been a banger, and it was not a banger. It was not good. It lost a lot of money. How can you get Michael Keaton to come back as Batman, okay, which for many people, including my generation, love Michael Keaton. We love him as Batman. That should have been an epic win. That should have been a huge W. And yet this film still wasn't a W. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with other things outside of that, including the stuff with Ezra Miller, which is something that DC can't get around because it wasn't their fault. It's solely Ezra Miller's fault. But also on top of that, the idea that James Gunn announced the reboot of the DC universe, going forward with films, makes a lot of those movies, including The Flash, including Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom coming up very soon, and even some of the other stuff related to the DCU, obviously Peacemaker hasn't had any movement. And I think Aquaman is the last movie to come out, because Blue Beetle is like next week. I actually got my ticket for Blue Beetle. But even then, like Blue Beetle, James Gunn said like this is the first of the new DCU. And it's like that kind of doesn't make any sense because you weren't involved with it. But also on top of that, even if it was, it's kind of useless to go see a Blue Beetle film at this moment. Now, granted, I should say too, there are some people that are looking forward to that film. Now, granted, as a Latino lead, as the main character, which is Jaime Reyes, and they got the actor from Cobra Kai that plays one of the characters on there, which is pretty cool. I can't pronounce his name off the top of my head right now because I always butcher actors and actresses' names sometimes, but they got that guy to play Jaime Reyes, and that's cool. There's a very big family element to it. Again, he's a Latino lead and all that jazz. But the point is that as a DC fan, you're going to go see this movie, and it's not really going to connect to anything of significance. Like, it might connect to the DCEU, and I think that they probably did some stuff leading up to the film's release to disconnect it from that. But even if it was connected to the new DCU under James Gunn, everything just seems so fragmented. This is what James Gunn was talking about a while back, where he mentioned that. He said that right now DC films and DC heroes have been really fragmented and we're trying to bring a little cohesion to everything. But it doesn't really feel like that. Between all the stuff going on with Superman Legacy that's come out, all the stuff about these other DC projects that have been announced, and really, to tie it all back together, you can't even get people on the same page when they're talking in interviews. I mean, look at this stuff with Gal Gadot, right? Gal Gadot comes out on an interview, 2 interviews, I should mention. I saw a lot of places reporting on this, and they said that it was 1 interview. It was actually 2, one of which that came out like a week or 2 ago? Like very recently, promoting her new movie on Netflix that she's actually a part of. And she said, look, James Gunn and Peter Safran told me that we're going to work together to develop Wonder Woman 3, that we're going to do another one. Okay, that's cool. That was originally a couple months ago. Then recently she came out again and said, to quote, she actually said this to, I believe it was, Flare magazine or some other magazine that she did an interview with, saying that, look, I quote, that this is what they told me. Now, real talk, if for anybody that doesn't know anything that how stuff works in Hollywood or any sort of public relations thing, when any major star comes out and makes a statement like that, it's been vetted. It's been actually gone through their publicists, what they could talk about. They've had conversations behind the scenes. So it's not like she went out rogue and said something like that. I really do believe that she had a conversation with James Gunn and Peter Safran in some capacity about whatever another Wonder Woman project might be. But here's the problem with this. Literally, not even a day or so afterwards, Variety comes out with an exclusive, which they probably talked to James Gunn's camp or people at Warner Brothers, and they actually said that's not happening. That never happened. That never was promised. Nothing was moving forward. They have no plans to move forward with a Wonder Woman 3. So somebody on one of these sides is lying or is heavily misinterpreting what was said. And the only ones that really understand this is Gal Gadot, Peter Safran, and James Gunn, which leads to my point. James Gunn, in an instance like this, because he likes to go out on social media and likes to talk to people, again, he was doing this right up to the point where he first got hired, and he slowed down a little bit. But this is one of those instances I feel like instead of going to Variety, instead of going to one of the major trades, you need to go up on Twitter and clarify this. Because I think people are so confused and people are so divided about what's going on here, and there's no clear communication of what's going on with your universe that you're building. I think you need to come up there and actually make a statement, whether it's a video, whether it's a long statement, something written up. I don't know what, okay? I don't think that going to one of the trades and saying that one of their sources, which we all know it's probably James Gunn. I don't think it's Peter Safran. I think Peter Safran is probably over here doing other business things. Probably busy doing other important stuff because he's got all types of problems he's got to deal with. But I really believe that James Gunn specifically needs to get up on Twitter and clarify for everybody, because the conversation now is that people are lying about this project. And I think that because it's Gal Gadot, I think a lot of people are just going to take her at face value. I mean, it could be in the case where Gal Gadot just totally lied. Let's be real here. It could be an instance that some people have brought up where she's probably trying to force their hand to actually get some movement on this, because maybe they told her something along those lines and promised her or gave her some sort of impression of an actual verbal agreement, and there's nothing moving forward. And maybe she's trying to nudge them to get them going, put a fire underneath their ass. But on the flip side of this, and what I really think might have been the case, is that they probably said a couple things and Gal Gadot just took it the wrong way, or her team took it the wrong way. Because like I said, I don't think Gal Gadot's going to just come out of nowhere and make those statements on an official interview. Okay, mind you, this isn't like she was talking at some convention or talking to some random person that overheard this conversation and they got reported on. No, this was an actual two interviews that were official on the record. So something along these lines needs to be is probably true and needs to be clarified. But I really think at this point it's James Gunn's responsibility to really come out and clarify things, because it is not a good look, not just for him, not just for Gal Gadot, but for everybody at the DC universe, and also for talent, that might be interested in joining whatever Warner Brothers is going to do with the DC universe moving forward. Because if all this craziness is going on, I don't think it's a great thing to get involved with that, with other talent that haven't been casted or whatever else. I mean, can you imagine what some of the other actors and actresses that are involved with Superman Legacy feel like? Let alone anybody else that might be involved with some of these other shows and movies. If things are that crazy, if things are that all over the place and just that chaotic, why would you get involved with that as an actor or an actress? You could just go over to Marvel. Granted, Marvel's got their own problems, but at least they have some sort of cohesion going on over there. I'm just saying, it's something that I think James Gunn needs to put on his, his big boy pants, or at least put on his, his suit to be the head of DC Universe over there, and actually clarify what's going on. Because I think that not only do the fans deserve it, but I think it's also important to make sure they make it clear that, look, we're running a ship that is actually moving forward, and we're running a ship that actually makes sense. Because I'll tell you also, as a fan of superhero movies and has followed this stuff for a long time, all of this and the idea of bringing back Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman does not look good for people that love the Zack Snyder universe, because it reinforces or further kind of supports this idea that James Gunn just doesn't like Henry Cavill. That's been a thing that's been going around for a while, and he made sure that he said that wasn't true, but it does look like that. Because why would you not bring back Henry Cavill and not bring back Ben Affleck? Granted, Ben Affleck said that he was done himself, but why would you not bring back Henry Cavill, who people love as Superman, for that matter, but then go back and still bring back Gal Gadot after saying you're going to reboot all this stuff? I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be clarified here. Hence why I said James Gunn needs to come out and start talking to people in the way that he should be talking to people. Okay, but I digress. That's a lot of drama. There's a lot of tea with that. I'm pretty sure there's going to be even more that comes out. Because remember, like I said before, Blue Beetle's coming out next week. I got my ticket. I got the first showing that day. Thursday is when I'm seeing it. I didn't get it for the IMAX, though. I got it for the Dolby Theater because that was the very first showing that they were giving. I know that the movie shot for IMAX. I know a lot of movies are starting to say that now ever since Oppenheimer, but I got the very first showing that day. I'm going to be there first. I'm going to see what's up with this movie, and I hope it's good, but I haven't been feeling those trailers, so we'll see what happens with DC moving forward. Besides that, let's talk a little bit about some Star Wars stuff, because there's more stuff that came out about this Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser, okay? Now, I did make a video over on my TikTok. If you haven't checked it out yet, there's links in the description. Go to my TikTok page. You could find the video there. It's got over nearly or over 5K views at the current moment right now, and I hope it gets more, because there's a lot of discussion to be had about this. And I will say, before I even get into any of this stuff, there's a lot of fans in the Star Wars community out there that are being apologists and are making excuses for this thing. We've been through this whole song and dance already for the last couple of years, or at least last year and a half to 2 years that this Starcruiser has been around, because I don't even think it's been around that long. I think it was very short that the Starcruiser has been actually a thing since it started up until now, because its last voyage is coming up in September. Originally in that video, I said that it was closed already, but no, it's actually their last voyage is on September, the very end of September, I believe. And bottom line, it's getting canceled. It's not coming back after that. The main thing is that you have a lot of people in my video and a lot of other places that have been saying, look, it was still good for what it was. It was actually a great thing. People that went to the Starcruiser, some of them multiple times. You mean to tell me y'all spent over $5,000 multiple times to go on the Starcruiser just to say you did? I mean, do what you want with your money. That's fine. But I'll tell you right now, not even Disney themselves has faith in the Starcruiser, or had faith in the Starcruiser, because the news that came out that I was talking about in that video was actually that Disney is going to be taking, I think it's a $250 to $300 million tax write-off for the Starcruiser for it shutting down. They're not continuing it because of different stuff, but they're doing that to kind of at least recover some sort of good thing from it. Bottom line, this whole project was a failure, and that is confirmation of that. I mean, I had one guy who's a pretty big TikToker, that was on my video commenting, saying that he didn't understand my logic because it's a failure because it's a tax write-off. It's like, come on, dude. Like, come on now. Stop trying to twist words and stuff. The main point that I was making that video and that I'm making here is that this whole thing with the actual Starcruiser becoming a tax write-off is a confirmation that it was a failure. The reason why it's shutting down is because not only is it not making money, it's costing Disney a ridiculous amount of money. There was a thing that came out in one of the trades, I believe it was the wrap, the one that I sourced in that video, where it said that the cost for the Galactic Starcruiser over time was eventually going to hit a point of like almost $1 billion. Like it was costing a ridiculous amount of money to maintain that thing. Keep in mind, this is both for Orlando and in Disneyland, California, over in Anaheim. Like there's a lot of money that's being sunk into this, and it's not making enough back. Because a lot of the people that would be interested in something like that, even though not that exact thing of better quality, hopefully, but in an experience of similar nature, were not going there. They weren't spending the $5,000 per 2 nights because that's an exorbitant amount of money to get an experience just for 2 nights. And then the other part of this, which I've talked about many times, I was on the Rule the Galaxy podcast talking about this with Dave and a few others, right, on various different places. Like, you could see everything going on with the Galactic Starcruiser on YouTube. So you could look at that, get pretty much the exact same experience of what they're going to be giving to you, and not have to spend all that money. But even if you wanted to spend that money on this, you could look at the YouTube videos that are out there and the pictures and all this other stuff, get every single detail about the Galactic Starcruiser, and judge for yourself and come to the conclusion, I believe, that it's not worth dropping $5,000 for 2 people for 2 nights. And then keep in mind, some people did this multiple times. I know some people that did this thing 3 times. That's over $1,500 $15K that you're spending on this thing. And that's not even counting like other expenses. Like, let's be real here. You're not going to an experience like that and not walking away with some souvenirs. Like, you're at least getting at least one. You know what I mean? If anything, spending $5,000 like that for at least one trip or at least 1 or 2 passengers, you should at least walk away with something. But still, you're spending a lot of money on that experience. And I'm telling you right now, people keep telling me I'm full of nonsense and everything else. Based on what I saw with my critical brain on and my critical hat on, that experience was not worth that. That was not worth that whatsoever. You could try to justify your own money being spent on this. You could try to look at the glass as half full as opposed to half empty. But real talk, many people that looked at this thing from the very get-go, and now at this point, Disney themselves taking off the tax write-off besides canceling this thing, really did not have a lot of faith in it at all. They're the most diehard Star Wars fans around that I know that would not spend money on that. Straight up, they were very clear. It's like, look, outside of the fact that it doesn't even feel like Star Wars, you're spending $5,000 on a 2-day experience with stuff that really doesn't feel like it's matching up to the universe we love. Other people might feel differently about that, but everybody is going to at least, have a scrutinizing eye when they're going to spend that much money on something. For that $5,000, you could go all the way over to California and spend like a week or so over there, if not more, and go to that Scoundrel of Scum and Villainy cantina that is much more like Jabba the Hutt's like actual spot, or even the Mos Eisley cantina, and get a far better Star Wars-like experience. Let alone you could probably go over to the Skywalker Ranch, or at least get a tour over there of Lucasfilm or something, or go check out the vineyards for that type of money. Like, it's insane to me. And what's even more insane is the people that are trying to do these mental gymnastics to justify, why that experience was worth the money. It really wasn't. And Disney themselves doesn't even feel like it was. They don't have enough faith in it to keep going beyond September, which is why they're taking the tax write-off. This is why it was reported in the news, why it was so bad. And again, I really feel for the people, not the ones that are spending money on this. I feel for the people that were working at it. Okay, I feel for the actors, that were there in costume, because they don't deserve a lot of the vitriol I did see from different places. I understand some of them are a little bit overzealous in trying to defend this thing because it is their jobs. Like, let's be 100 here, right? A lot of those people there are working there. They're busting their butts. They're trying to make things great for the people that actually do spend money on this. And they're getting like criticism from all sides. From the Star Wars fans that feel like this is nonsense, from those that are really just frugal and don't want to spend a lot of money, to everybody else that are just talking smack on the internet. I feel for those actors and costume designers and all the people that tried to maintain this thing and try to make it work, at least. You can't be mad at those people, okay? The ones that I think you really need to direct your ire at more than anything else, and even then, like, not too much, is really Disney. Because they're the ones that actually put this project together. Okay. So all my criticism and all my stuff that I've said about this thing for the entire time that the Galactic Starcruiser was around is really directed more at Disney and the way that they handled this, not the people that are working on the ground there, because they don't deserve that. And I don't think anybody on the internet from the Star Wars community or anybody else, Disney community, nobody should be like talking smack about them. If they are, then you're being a fool because they did not deserve that. Our criticism of the Galactic Starcruiser should not reflect our views on those individuals as people. Straight up. I think that sometimes on the internet, a lot of fans in their passion tend to forget that. And a lot of people just don't care. They just kind of like bull rush ahead with their criticism, not even thinking about being more kind of like, more courteous with their actual views on it. Outside of that, though, my main points about this Galactic Starcruiser stuff, based on some of the things I saw on Twitter, based on some of the things I saw on TikTok, and other conversations and articles I read, this thing confirmed again was an absolute failure. It was a bad move. It was a bad investment. And if anything, that almost, $250 to $300 million that they're taking as a tax write-off, or all the other money that they spent on this thing, could have been going towards Galaxy's Edge. Could have been going towards like actually making Galaxy's Edge better, maybe providing better merchandise and other stuff and better stuff for the Disney experience when you go to the parks. If not, also using that money to make things a little bit better for some of the shows on Disney Plus. Because let's be real here, there's a lot of things to be worried about with Lucasfilm going on right now with Disney Plus and Star Wars. Now, mind you, I'm excited for Ahsoka. I'm ready to watch Ahsoka. We got the 2 episode premiere coming up in a couple weeks towards the end of August. But I also just watched the leaked trailer again for The Acolyte. Now, I haven't liked a lot of the conversation about The Acolyte. I feel like many of the statements coming from the cast, some of the showrunners, have not been good. There needs to be somebody over there at Lucasfilm, and really Disney, that does something with PR or gets PR reps over there to stop their stars or stop their people that are behind the scenes from making like ludicrous statements and ludicrous conversations or getting into it with people on social media. There really needs to be something done over there, because a lot of the conversation has been weird. A lot of conversation has really been turning fans off, whether it's about commenting about diversity, whether it's commenting about certain like story beats and stuff and other things. I understand a lot of those topics are like important topics to have, okay? And a lot of that is important discussions to have. But they really need to understand that when you're trying to promote a film or a TV show or any sort of project, you're not trying to steer the conversation to something that's going to get everybody aggravated. Not that any of those topics should aggravate people, but like you're there to sell a show. You're there to entice me to actually check out this show. Everything else could come afterwards, and those conversations could come afterwards. But like, I shouldn't look at The Acolyte and the only thing that I hear about it is about what type of people that they have on the cast. I should hear about the story. I should hear about what's going on with the universe. I should hear about how long this show is. I should hear about all these other things, and I really don't get that at all. Like, the only things I really know about the Acolyte is that it takes place towards the end of the High Republic, and it's about the bad guys, about the Sith, like, or at least some of the Sith that are lingering around, or people that want to be Sith, before the rise of Emperor Palpatine. There's a lot of weird things that they're just not clear on. And when I watched that teaser trailer again, that was shown during Star Wars Celebration, I mean, it looks cool up to a point, but like, again, I still know nothing concrete about this show. When I watched the trailers and the other stuff for Ahsoka, prior to what we got now, when they first showed it, I got much more of a better understanding of what that show is going to be about and how they're going to handle it than what I do with The Acolyte. You could say the same thing about The Mandalorian. You could probably say the same thing about the Book of Boba Fett, even though that turned out poorly. But still, they need to work on their PR over there. They really do. They need to make it so that way their stars and their showrunners stop kind of like banging heads with the fans, let alone actually making things, making statements and taking positions that are like really trying to just get on the fans' bad side. Because the fans are the ones that are going to watch your show. Those are the people that are going to be up at like 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time ready to watch your show and then resubscribe to Disney Plus. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there needs to be a better sense of communication between the fans and them. But I digress, though, okay? I'm going to be looking forward to watching that stuff. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully at least Ahsoka's good, and we'll see what happens with The Acolyte. The other thing, too, I'll briefly mention before I get out of here, the stuff with the Lando show is still confusing. I wrote about it where we're going to have Donald Glover coming back to actually write the Lando show because, again, he's the new Lando, and that's cool. We like Donald Glover out here. Donald Glover is dope. But seems to be a lot of weirdness going on with Lucasfilm. The guy who was originally writing the Lando show found out that he was removed or found out that he was fired on social media when it got reported that Donald Glover was coming to write this show. That's a very poor move. I've always said that is the worst thing you could do to someone because it's so disrespectful and just shows no courtesy whatsoever. Like, they could have given him a phone call before it got out to the trades. And it's not the first time that Lucasfilm has done that. I think it's very poor and very poor form for them to actually do that. But with this one, it just feels like unnecessary for them to like let that happen. So we'll see how that goes, because with the writer's strike going on and obviously the SAG-AFTRA strike still going on, a lot of things are getting pushed back, especially for Star Wars, with Lucasfilm and Disney. You're going to see the same thing going on with Marvel. That's a whole other conversation I'll reserve for another time. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So let me know your thoughts about everything that I've discussed in the comment section down below. Tell me what you guys think about what's going on with the Galactic Starcruiser. Tell me what you guys think about going on everything with DC. Hopefully Marvel movies as well. What movies are you going to be seeing sometime soon, that are coming up very soon? What did you think of Gran Turismo? What did you think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, by the way, Mutant Mayhem? That actually was a fun movie. I got to see that with Flynn's as well. We went to a screening, and I got to review that as well, which is pretty cool. But anyway, one other quick note I should mention, speaking of Flynn's, I will be at the upcoming Star Wars event that they're going to be doing next week, which I believe is on the 18th. They have a whole bunch of information that they posted up. They're going to have stars, actors and actresses from places like The Mandalorian, I believe also the Book of Boba Fett. But it's going to be a fun Star Wars day. It's going to be cool. Hopefully, if you guys make it out there, come say hi. I'll be doing TikTok videos. I'll be taking pictures with everybody, saying what's up, talking, playing some games. It's going to be fun. I'm going to hopefully get a good picture. Maybe I could get one of the photographers there to take a good picture with me with the Star Wars arcade machine. Because, again, I always go there and I play it and I try to run through it whenever I can. But, yeah, come say hi. Come say what's up. And, yeah, I will see you guys out there. So, anyway, make sure you guys leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Look out for more episodes of the podcast over on the playlist that's out there right now. There's a whole bunch of them with a bunch of different discussions. And I will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.